Hi, I'm Matt from hockeyreviews.ca, and this is a bunch of pro stock hockey sticks. I've talked about them in the past, specifically the red line, which, well, actually this one and this one is a red line, specifically the red line stock model. I ended up buying a bunch of custom ones to go over the different details, as well as to talk about the different blade materials on here. And while I did that, I asked them to send me a yellow line so I could do a review on it and talk about this budget version, which, yes, this is way too late, but they're currently clearing out all the yellow lines for $100 Canadian on their website, which is absolutely ridiculous. Make sure you definitely check that link out and take a look at those. After watching this video, you'll probably really want to just buy up as many as you can. For these sticks itself, I will be doing a full review and kind of comparison on these different models. That's a Model E, that's a red line, that's a red line. These are obviously yellow lines. And I also had this one too, which is the G63 line. So I'll do a video on all of those, talking about like the different specs and features on them in a different video, which will come out in a while. This is just going to be on the yellow line because it's on clear out. They do have clear out of all their inventory sticks right now, but I'm going to specifically talk about the yellow line here. So I talked in the past about who Pro Stock Hockey Sticks really is and the kind of the whole thing with ProStockHockeySticks.com and what the idea behind them are in the red line video, which is up there and linked in the description. So if you want to see all that, go back in there. I'm not going to rehash all this, but what I'm going to talk about for this stick specifically is what this is. The yellow line was their budget line where they use cheaper carbon fiber, a different weave system on here, and it was heavier than what their red lines were. And so it wasn't really comparing against a top of the line stick. I think at retail, these were $159 Canadian when they came out, and they were an absolute steal at that price. And I always recommended them to my teammates. At $100, they are the best value stick you can possibly buy right now. So definitely go get those and check them out, but also keep watching this video so you can see why I think that. So there are two different versions of these sticks out there, but the ones right now on their website are going to be this top one right here with the black paint through this connection piece. Now I noticed that this was different compared to the original one I got. You can really see it with the Pro, with the O specifically, how it is basically painted over. And I asked them about it, and the reasoning was the factory suggested to cover up this seam right here, which you can see is the join between the blade carbon and the shaft carbon. And there's always going to be a seam, and you see this on CCM's, Bauer's, you see it on Sherwood's, where they paint where that seam is so you can't see the weaves going over itself. This is honestly such an annoying thing with customers and kind of people in general. I love seeing the construction of this. This looks really cool. When you see it on retail sticks, it honestly looks a lot worse than what this is. This one is very cleaned up and looks very, very good. So maybe that takes too long to do. So their newer versions were kind of uglier, but it does look fantastic. And on the retail ones, I see it all the time on Reddit and comments on, do I have a broken stick? Do I have a fake stick? Because they'll see the joins of the shaft and the blade coming together on CCM sticks or on Sherwood sticks or on Bauer sticks. It will just be like ugly carbon fiber and it won't look like it is completely weaved, and they'll complain about it, but it really means nothing. And it's just where the actual two seams of carbon end up being. You have to put it somewhere. You're not going to do an entire weave for the blade and the shaft itself. You connect those weaves together somewhere, and I love that exposed look right there, and I think it looks fantastic. But unfortunately, well, or fortunately, compared to how people look at it, the new ones are painted black at the bottom, so you can definitely see how it goes basically all the way into the blade down here, and that's all blacked out where the other one was more exposed. Speaking of this older version of stick, this stick I got was a Pro 28M. So this is a max height P28 basically, which I don't use P28. So I asked for this one specifically because I no longer had a P28 and I want to use it for curve comparisons. I started shooting with it and I instantly realized I can't shoot with it. I can't stick handle with it. I can't use anything with it. And if I tried to learn with this, it would ruin everything for my other sticks. So I basically reached out to him and said, hey, I got to buy a new one. I can't use this. And eventually that new one came in. It wasn't like a long time or anything. It just took me a while to order one. Was this one, which was a slightly newer version, which still has that basket weave going through it. But this one is a P29, so it's more familiar for myself. And you want to support the channel and you need a base layer and a protective kind of supportive base layer that helps protect your growing as well as your hips. Check out the Cortec. This is the Pro 1.0 pants. So this one is not quite as restrictive, and this is kind of tight right here in this X pattern. You might have seen these as Under Armour before, or Bauer for the hockey specific ones. There's also the Core 3.0, which is a lot stiffer, as you can see. Really helps protect my growing and keeping it kind of in place and make sure it doesn't overstretch itself. There's a discount code, and you click the link in the description. Use that discount code to get a discount off, help support myself, as well as get you some pretty awesome base layer pants that really do help with injury prevention and help stabilize your core while playing. Otherwise, if you want to support the channel and you don't want to buy anything hockey related, you can check out the links in the description to buy me a coffee. Anything that goes through any of the links always comes back into my channel so I can make more content and do more videos. But continuing on to this basket weave, and you can see it all throughout it. and in the blade itself. You can see kind of the checkerboard pattern there. You can see it right there, and it's kind of harder to see the checkerboard through here, but it is through there as well. So the whole thing with this weave is it is a cheaper carbon fiber compared to like a 25K, an 18K, or probably even a 12K. So this is a cheaper overall carbon fiber, so it's cheaper to produce and obviously make. As wise on the budget sticks, there are still companies right now, CCM is one and Sherwood is one, that still made basket weaves, at least in the last 2 generations, on their sticks. So you just have to kind of look at it and you can see where it is on their price point sticks. Now, something that's interesting about the basket weave and why I specifically wanted to use the basket weave stick and the yellow line, because Connor McDavid actually uses a Super Tax, which has this type of blade. So it has the basket weave blade, and this one looks a bit weird because you can't really see the cross pattern in it for some reason, but you definitely do have a cross pattern through it. And this one, you can see it a little bit better, and you can see it kind of right there. So I've seen Pro Stock Connor McDavid sticks. I've also, you can just tell when he's playing that it has that basket weave finish on the blade, and I believe it's on the shaft as well, because that is what CCM was making at the time where he found his favorite stick and won't get out of it. So it's very interesting that this weave, which isn't a high-end weave by all means, is Connor McDavid's favorite, and pretty awesome. I also saw Sherwood prototypes, which Sherwood says wasn't made for McDavid, but they're trying to get McDavid to play actually in gear, so why wouldn't you make him the exact spec? And it had that basket weave finish to it. I talked about that at Hockey Stick Man on Instagram. So this weave was always interesting to me, especially because it's still used by probably the greatest player in the NHL right now. So very interesting that you can get it at this one, and it ends up being the budget stick. So for specs on this and flex point, these are all mid kicks, at least the ones I have are. I think it changes on the curve and the actual flex of the stick itself. I always get 85 flexes, and I think those are always the mids, but check out their inventory because their inventory is always different. So I can't tell you what it's going to be. You're going to have to check that yourself. I'll talk about how the kick plays in the shooting part of this video. So one thing I absolutely love about this stick is how long it was. This stick right now is cut to about a 59-inch stick, which is what old Bauer heights were, old Warrior heights were, and this is what I cut off of it. So this is like 4 inches bigger. This is what is off of a new Bauer stick, which is I think 62 inches. So you can see you're basically going to double that, so it makes sense if it's 4. It's a massive stick. This is taller than CCM's. This would be basically the CCM height. So I showed how big this stick comes as a normal size. This is the size I cut it down to, which is basically a 59, which is the old 60-inch retail. But when I put the rest of it on there, you can see how massive these sticks were. So that is awesome that they're giving you all that extra height. You look how tall that is. I'm 6'3" off skates, and this thing's coming up to my eyes, probably above my eyes. And this is a massive stick. So I love that this is just a stock option, and you can cut it down to the size you want. It's great having that extra height, and so you can adjust it. And this is bigger than like the CCM 62s and everything like that too. This is massive. This feels like a 64-inch length, and it is a really good option for people. Now, another interesting thing about this, and you can see it's straight walls, rounded corners. The interesting thing here, it's like slightly concave walls, it looks like on here, and you can kind of feel it just ever so slightly. It's not a lot though, but the interesting thing on this one, at least I find, is this is the thickness of the walls when you look at the bottom. So you can see it's thick. This is going to be a decently durable stick. It's not going for that crazy thin lightweight on there. It is thicker in the shaft, as you can see right there. But on the opposite end, which is towards the top, you can see how much thinner it gets. So you really had to cut down on this to really get the actual idea of how thick that shaft was. So the top is pretty thin overall, but when we get obviously to where it was cut, it's a lot thicker. So nice that that's a thing. This is obviously a budget stick. Durability is one of the big concerns on this because you don't want it to break all the time. You're going to have more weight, but you also want it to last longer because you don't want to replace it all the time. And obviously you're the more budget conscious there. So for the grip itself, this Pro Stock Hockey Sticks has basically the best grip on the market, in my opinion. They're right up there next to Bauer, and Bauer has always been really good, especially with their customs, which you could get like this, the basketball finish. And this is the basketball grip all the way through. It's a textured grip, and it also has grip. I love their different grip options on there. I'll talk about that in the custom ones down the line. Some of them have different options as well. I think if you go lower flex, you might not get this full basketball grip. This grip is fantastic. It's awesome. It's textured. It feels so good in your hands. And when we get our single layer palm test on here, you can just feel it throughout the whole thing, and it feels absolutely fantastic. It's grippy. It's not too grippy though, where this won't move at all, and it does slide up and down, but still gives you enough grip on it. At the same time, you can feel that texture throughout the whole thing, and it is amazing. It also doesn't have a tendency of flaking off and chipping like CCMs do. You can see some chips down here from the paint, but there's nothing on the grip where it just kind of flakes off, which is kind of the CCM thing. Bauer isn't really that awful for it, to be honest. So this is a nice thing of that, where they actually do spray on a decent amount of coating on here. So you do get a ton of grip, and it is more durable than some of those retail sticks that are really chasing weight numbers. So you can see some chips on here, but it is just standard chips from hacks and slashes and nothing massive and flaking off. Going on to the blade itself, it has that weave on there, as you can see. it looks like it's in one direction, but it really isn't both. It's just the light is kind of playing tricks and this weave itself is playing tricks. I did a whole video on weaves on sticks and constructions of blades and how it affects puck feel and dampening and passing and shooting. And this stick with this basket weave, I absolutely love how it feels. It's kind of a more dampened feeling than what you get on a normal red line and what you get on most retail sticks, to be honest. Now finally, puck feel, and I talked about this a lot over and over and over again. This blade feels fantastic. It's honestly one of my favorite feeling blades there is, and it is their lowest price point. And it's that basket weave though, which McDavid loves, and it just feels like a nice in-between of sticks. It's not too pingy, it's more on the soft side, and you can just really notice it when shooting and everything. It feels a lot more dampened than even their red line because that carbon weave is different. And when I'm playing with it, it just feels so good, and I love that feeling of it. Same with making passes of it. It just feels phenomenal. I'm a huge fan of the carbon weave on it, and the blade on it would just make it feel so good. And it's just so nice to play with. And I actually told them that if I was doing a custom stick, I'd want a red line body with this blade on it, because that would be my perfect feeling for puck feel and everything. I just really liked it. So kind of interesting that I want to go back basically in times and tech to get this carbon fiber so you get a softer blade out of it. I've had people ask me over and over again of what socks I always recommend, and I've been using Cutshield for a while now. I have multiple stuff for them. So Cutshield is a company out of Canada that makes cut resistant socks, and these are their Pro Air 6, which means it's an ANSI level 6 for cut resistance on here. Full review of it up there so you can check it out. But I now have a coupon code with Cutshield, so if you want to support the channel, you can check out the link in the description to Cutshield, buy some socks, which I think are honestly one of the better socks on the market. I absolutely love them. They're pretty thin and they are cut resistant and they're not too hot either. Use my coupon code, you get 25% off, and it helps support the channel. So this stick is obviously a budget stick. The shooting on this stick is not going to blow you away in terms of feeling. It's going to be like an FT7 Pro or honestly a kind of a Sync. I still think this actually shoots better than my Sync did, but it's not going to be that top tier of stick shooting. But it was one of the most consistent shooting sticks I've ever used, and it does feel more like a hybrid than it does a high kick. But I only say that in terms of when I use high kicks in the past, like those Supremes and those old tacks, it was really hard to load and get like a release on. For this one, hands down here, easy load, hands down here, easy load. So it doesn't matter where my hand is, I can still load it pretty good and don't have an issue with it. So whether it's a high kick or a hybrid, the loading of it makes it easy enough that it feels like it's closer to a hybrid than those kind of harder shooting sticks in the past. Now for that shot performance, this is a case where I mentioned it doesn't feel like my even LX2 Pro, which when I shoot it I'm like wow, but when I shoot it, it's consistent, it's hard. It doesn't really feel like I'm leaving anything off the ice when I'm shooting with this thing. Yes, I know I can shoot better and harder with some other sticks, but when I'm on the point and just letting it go, it feels good. I can feel the kick, it feels like it shoots, and I'm happy with the performance, especially for the price on these things. And while they are on their crazy clearance for $100 Canadian, you're not gonna get a better stick for $100 Canadian, just to be totally blunt. And I love these sticks. I've been talking about them for years. I should have done this review earlier, but this thing is just absolutely fantastic. Now the one thing though is the weight on this stick is pretty heavy, especially compared to those new sticks like LX2 Pro, FT7 Pro, sticks like that. This isn't going to be that 360 gram, 370 gram stick. It's in the 400s. And it's like 410. I can't remember the exact number. I'll put it up on screen. But you do notice it, and I notice it specifically when trying to play defense for people. So when people are coming in and I'm trying to do quick stick actions with one hand and stuff like that, that's when I notice the weight. Now I do love the weight for like pulling pucks back like this. It's fantastic because the weight is really well balanced. It is not like blade heavy, but it is more towards the bottom. So it doesn't pop up on the ice at all. And I can really pull things away or push things away from people. But using this stick after using like an FT7 Pro or LX2 Pro, I do feel the sluggishness of my hands because it is heavier than what those sticks are. So when I'm trying to play D and poke pucks away or stop people coming between my legs, stuff like that, I do notice it. Stick handling, I don't notice at all. It feels totally fine, and the balance is so good on it, that's not an issue. But it was definitely a thing where I noticed, I was like, I usually can knock that puck out of the air, or I can usually grab that puck from someone when they try to do a toe drag. And just notice I'm a little bit slower on this just because of the weight, just how it is with a heavier stick. But for the price, obviously, this is nowhere near what those are. And it is a phenomenal stick for that. Now, for passing, I talked about this previously as well with their sticks. The blades honestly feel so good for passing. So easy to do soft passes with it, like no problem at all. It's one of the better blades on the market, to be honest. And Warrior has now kind of surpassed it with their new Edge kind of blade, but this is so easy. It's so controllable. I absolutely love this stick, using it for the blades, and just the shape and everything is so good. Obviously, they do pro stock blades as well with specific pros shapes to them. And if you want to do a custom, you can really pay for your own custom. But that P92 on this just works so well compared to a lot of other brands too. It's like that Bauer level, and it's better than CCM's. Now, again, I'm sorry I took so long to do a review on this stick. And yes, this stick isn't going to be the best shooting stick that you've ever used or on the market. It's a budget conscious stick, and it is priced that way. And now with its clear out prices, it is ridiculously priced and is simply the best stick you can get for $100 I've seen, really. So I always recommend people to check these out. I've always recommended these sticks to my teammates. A bunch of them are now using them. These sticks are fantastic. Even for the full price in these for $160, the stick was amazing value. And this is honestly one of my favorite sticks to use. Yes, I don't have the shot with this one compared to those other top end sticks. Also, you don't have the weight on those other top end sticks, but puck feels phenomenal. The grip is phenomenal. The balance is good. Everything about this stick is solid and really good. I absolutely love these. I'm spoiled using the very lightweight sticks that are new releases all the time. But if that wasn't the case, this would most likely be the stick I would just keep buying over and over again. They don't really break all that much, but if it did, I need a new one just because this stick is so good overall, and you can't really beat the performance for the dollar. And with that said, with the new price, you can't beat it at $100 Canadian. It's just absolutely ridiculous. So huge sorry to Pro Stock Hockey Sticks for taking so long on this review. This isn't a full review that I kind of do, but I do talk about this a lot anyways. This video is still longer than it could have been, but this stick is amazing and I absolutely love it. And I'm sorry this took so long. Definitely check out their clear out sale. Amazing prices. I don't have a kickback link or anything. This is just me being honest with how good this company is and how good the sticks are. They're absolutely phenomenal. And I have tried a bunch of the blackout sticks before. You've seen my review of the Hockey Stick Man Pro Blackout. I've tried the Blade Tech one just passing because his teammate had it, and my thoughts on that are the same as what it was on the Pro Blackout. And this stick is actually good with actual tech behind it. Even this basket weave is actually like tech behind it. There's a reason that has basket weave on it, and players in the NHL, well, the best player in the NHL, still uses a stick with this tech. So that's always interesting to me. And it's really from a company that someone is really passionate about hockey with, especially sticks, who now has Alexander Ovechkin using his stick. So that's pretty cool. So that's about it for this video. Hopefully it was helpful. If this video was helpful and you make a purchase at Pro Stock Hockey Sticks, please let them know in your notes or whatever. Say, hey, I came from hockey reviews. That'd be greatly appreciated. Just so he knows that him dealing with me all the time isn't a total waste of time and it was helpful. I will do a full review of all the custom ones down the line when I have a chance. It will be in a while though, unfortunately, because I have a long list of stuff to do. But since this clearance thing is going on now, I want to get this out there and to talk about it and to get people's eyes on it. So hopefully you can clear out that inventory he has and bring in the new models. Thank you very much for watching this video. Hopefully it was helpful. Remember to subscribe to me on YouTube. Follow me on Instagram and TikTok. Links are in the description. If you want to support the channel and you're buying hockey equipment anyways, if you're in the US, check out the link in the description to Pure Hockey. If you're in Canada, check out the link in the description to Hockey Supremacy. Clicking those links, making a purchase gives me a kickback, helps support the channel so I keep making more content and doing more reviews. Otherwise, if you want to support the channel without buying anything hockey related, check out the links in the description to Patreon and Buy Me a Coffee. Everything through any of those links always comes back into the channel so I can keep making more content and doing more videos. Thank you very much for watching and take it easy.
You're watching HockeyReviews.ca.